Our first speaker this morning, Dr. Wayne Sanstead, who is the North Dakota State Superintendent of Public Instruction. And Dr. Sanstead has been here for almost, I think, every Pathfinder, every parent involvement conference, which is jointly hosted by Pathfinders and the North Dakota Department of Public Instruction. So I'm happy to welcome him this morning. He brings an extensive background of legislative, executive, and educational leadership to the office. He has served in the elective office for 43 years, 8 years as a state representative, 2 years as a state senator, and 8 years as a lieutenant governor. He's presently in the 26th year as the state superintendent of schools. He's the nation's senior state chief and has served as an elected member of the board of directors for the Council of Chief State School Officers. Dr. Sanstead received his Bachelor of Arts in Speech and Political Science from St. Olaf College. His master's degree in Public Address and Group Communication is from Northwestern University, and his doctorate is in Secondary Education from the University of North Dakota. During his academic career, Dr. Sanstead was named a James J. Hill Foundation Scholar, Eagleton Scholar, and a Co-Family Foundation Scholar. He is listed in Who's Who in American Politics and American Education. And please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Sanstead.
Thanks, Kathy. Thank you, Kathy Harstead, for that very kind introduction. I'm a little mindful, and I've said it before several times, of my late father going to many a public event with me. And we would sit side by side, and when somebody get a very kind introduction of that type, my dad would always lean over, he'd give me the elbow, and he'd say, "You know, Wayne, I don't care what they say about that guy. Size of his funeral will still depend on the weather." And when you think about North Dakota, that fits pretty good. And Kathy also mentioned that I am the longest serving chief state school officer in the nation. They often say senior, you know, or they say the academic term dean of the chiefs, and I always say, no, I am the longest serving. With that philosophy in mind, you know, you continue to lead because you enjoy doing it, number one, and number two, it's important in this state and nation that education be the prime objective of state government. I'm on bended knee lately, since about January, every day, doing that up at the Legislative Assembly. And wouldn't you know, the minute we schedule, and Kathy said it well, I don't think I've ever missed a Pathfinder. I've always been present when you guys have had a conference, and that's moving around. Thank goodness you're in Mandan this year instead of Minot, next year I know you're in Fargo. It's already on my schedule. So the fact of the matter is, to be here really counts. But would you know, the two major bills on education are scheduled this morning. House bill, the big one is 2150, which is about a 36-section, 38-page bill of detailed legislation about education is coming up this morning. And then, since I have a number of staff members present today, our budget bill for the department is up, and we're all concerned about that one. And of course that counts as well, because it's the flow-through money which goes to all of our school districts and to the programs across the state that make a big difference in education. I really appreciate the Parent Involvement Conference because it's something I look forward to each year. And that's because I know what you're getting done for us in working with parents across the state. And I did get to peruse and know again that the North Dakota State Parent Information Resource Center has all kinds of materials available, and we have other groups here with the booths. And I suggest you get the very helpful and useful information that I know is always a part of the conference. And every spring I'm delighted to be with you as you have this important program. It gives me pleasure to welcome you in that regard and to say that the annual Parent Involvement Conference counts a lot. At the outset, I want to congratulate each of you who made a decision to take the time to be here and to attend this conference. Your attendance at a special gathering of this kind is not only important to you, it's important to us who work in education across the state, because we know it's going to make a difference for our students. If I were a consumer marketing expert, which I hasten to add I'm not, but if I were in the business community and did that, I would want to take a look at who's here. And that means you'd assume some things about each of you. And I think those things are pretty crystal clear in knowing that participation in this conference is going to make a difference in the work you do, the involvement you have, and most especially in the case of the educators, the kind of education we deliver on a daily basis. I think first and foremost, you probably believe more than anybody else that the involvement of parents is essential in their children's education, that's an important topic for all of us, and therefore you're purposely participating in the conference, which is dedicated to this very crucial and ongoing issue. Secondly, I think your registration for this conference also says that you value the missions of both the Department of Public Instruction and the mission of the Pathfinder Family Center. Officially stated, I know the mission of the Pathfinder Center because it's there to unite families and educators. What an important undertaking, uniting families and educators in giving them resources, and they're here, resources to build positive futures for our students and with children, and indeed with young adults, all of whom probably have some learning difficulties or certainly challenges. We help parents and educators contact, and that's important, that contact. Engaged, in other words, in each other's efforts at learning. Our mission includes, I know, individuals who receive both general education and special education, and from that perspective, again, I know we have at least 7 staff members from our programs at the Capitol, especially special education and our Title I programming. So we're serving people really in the Pathfinder Center from birth through age 26. The Department of Public Instruction, on the other hand, has a mission which is very much alike. That mission is to ensure a uniform statewide system for effective learning for all students. I emphasize the word all students. That's the vision. All students must achieve their maximum potential for the department to be successful. And they must become, these days, lifelong learners, engaged really on a daily basis in school, community, and work in making sure that they're learning. And although Pathfinder and DPI are clearly separate and distinct organizations, you'll note that the mission of the two agencies are so well combined and complement each other very perfectly. That's why the jointly sponsored conference is worthwhile, and we really believe in it as a first effort. That will help us continue to keep families and schools intact. I know you work together to create instructional programs tailored to that individual student's needs, that there are positive strategies being put into place to resolve conflicts, that there are indeed positive home and school communications taking place, that supporting parents in being engaged in their child's education is a first effort, that communicating effectively between and among us is an important and an ongoing basic, and to ensure that parent involvement in educational decision-making is a first priority in our education system. What these two mission statements really communicate then, in my view, are our values. They say something about us. We stand before you today because we assert that we value parents and that we recognize their critical and continuing importance in the education of North Dakota's children and youth. And that's the first consideration. As the state superintendent, I've worked long and hard to promote this worthy and universal value for many years. As I travel the nation, indeed, recognizing leadership role on behalf of North Dakota. I have people come up to me, captains of industry and business and finance and the military and education, and they say, "Oh, you're from North Dakota." I say, "Yes." They say, "You know, my very best people are from North Dakota, my best neighbors, my best workers, my people that make a difference, who really care about each other and have that special consideration of serving others. They're involved because they represent my company or my school, my business or my office somewhere in education." And indeed, I think that says something about North Dakotans. And it comes from beginnings like this. It's my responsibility as the state chief to ensure that our citizens place that kind of value on education. And again, that's why we're in front of the policymakers of our state, meeting in the Capitol building as we speak. Those who serve in the Legislative Assembly need to know that education needs to be a first and a continuing priority. The history of North Dakota reflects that history as well. Citizen commitment to helping young people receive a good education. In 1861, way back when President Buchanan signed the bill making Dakota Territory in the middle part of the nation exist, there was only one school in this entire area. Organized in 1860, that school consisted of one log cabin and that accommodated pupils and their teachers. A document that records the development of children in our state and education says, quote, "Despite the difficulty of organizing the growing number of schools in such a vast and sparsely populated area, early settlers always viewed education as their first priority." And in 1862, the first Legislative Assembly for the Dakota Territory passed the act for the support of our common schools. The phrase in that passage that I think should inspire all of us is, quote, "Early settlers viewed education as a first priority." With all of the challenges that our early ancestors had on their minds, including, we know, basic survival in those days, in the face of extreme weather, isolation, limited access to food, shelter, medicine, our grandparents and our great-grandparents still viewed education as their first priority. Why? I think it comes across very well in saying that parents knew then just what you know now. Education is the best insurance to help children succeed in life. Without a good education, opportunities are greatly limited. But with a solid educational foundation, whether the child has a disability or some other special circumstance, one way to help the child achieve his or her potential is to make sure that they have success in school. All of you who chose to attend this conference are clearly dedicated to parent involvement, and you are probably the ones who need the least convincing about the critical importance of parents and schools working together. Your concern for the future is clear when you registered here. What we need to do is, of course, persuade all parents that their children's education is more important than, say, television, or these days video games, or a host of other interferences in kids' education. That attending a child's parent-teacher conference is certainly more important than staying home to watch The Apprentice or Dancing with the Stars. I'm proud and pleased that our department Title I and special education units are increasingly working more closely together than ever before. They recognize in the department and outside to the public the efforts of collaboration, the worth of demonstrating together what we can do. They know full well that the best way education can come across is with caring educators and dedicated parents. Just as education was a priority then for our ancestors, it must continue to be so for parents and school partnerships these days. Let me conclude my welcoming remarks with a quotation that inspires me. I hope will inspire each of you. It was said a long time ago, for schools to get better, we need more active parents. The more involved parents get in education, their own children and the nation's, the better our schools will become. So I say to you, once again, thank you for your involvement. I salute you for your care and concern evidenced by your presence here today. I hope you'll have a most enjoyable and a productive state conference once again. And I look forward to Janet Peters' presentation on the Universal Design for Learning, which fortunately for all of us is next. Thank you.